And 40 years later, another referendum is imminent. Tim Muffet, BBC News.
We're joined now by Alun Wyburn-Powell, who is a political historian, and you voted in that 1975 referendum, and you were 18 years and
2 days. I was very lucky. I only had to wait 2 days before I could have a vote after I was 18.
May I ask how you voted?
I voted yes.
To stay in the EU?
I did indeed. I certainly did.
And what was the feeling then when that vote was taking place, when that referendum was taking place? Were people engaged? Were they talking about it a lot?
Quite a lot. I think it was something new and a bit scary and unknown. But I think in those days people perhaps idealistic. And I don't see why they shouldn't be idealistic anymore, but I think a lot of the debate these days has been reduced to what can we get out of it, how much does it cost? And I don't think that was really the feeling behind it. The cost of food was something people were concerned about, but it wasn't trying to weigh up the pros and cons and draw up a balance sheet. People were interested in a project that was going somewhere.
And it was a project that was starting, it was only 30 years after the end of the Second World War, so to what extent was that dominating people's minds, especially older people, many of whom had just fought in the Second World War?
Oh, it certainly did. I think Germany has always been the country that people are wary of. In those days, certainly because it wasn't that long after the war. These days, because Germany is very powerful economically and dominates the economic agenda. So Britain's always felt that it was perhaps sort of not quite as important as it should have been. But then we could have joined, and things started in 1957, but we didn't.
And then, Europe, being part of the European Economic Community, was a 2-year-old status, wasn't it, for the UK? So now we're, 42 years as part of the European Economic Community. And there are very different issues, as you mentioned, you alluded to. Of course, there's the whole idea of balancing up whether or not it's economically makes sense for us to be in the EU. But there are also issues about immigration, issues about red tape as well, quite inflammatory, emotional issues that have to be addressed.
I think you can stir up people's attention onto almost anything, really, if you talk about it enough. It's like crime used to be something that politicians were obsessed about 10 years ago. It's not really on the agenda. Immigration is on the agenda. People hear about it. They tend to worry about it in a general sense, but when you ask them, does it affect them personally, far fewer people are actually that concerned about it. So I think whoever sets the agenda can make people concerned about almost anything, really.
Obviously, we don't know exactly what the form of this next referendum is going to be, but can I ask you, do you think you know how you'll vote this time? Have you changed in 40 years?
No, I suppose that's one of the good things about it, being reminded that 40 years ago how I felt, and I feel exactly the same now. I still perhaps feel idealistic rather than counting up the balance sheet whether it's a good idea or not, but I still think it's a project that we should be, it's something aspirational, not something that's just about short-term costs and benefits. So I feel pretty much the same, actually. I suppose looking back, I'm quite pleased how it turned out. Obviously, there have been problems with the euro. Probably it expanded slightly too fast in Eastern Europe. But
you might have another 2.5 years to make up your mind, of course, mightn't you? So,
Might take some time.
Alan, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.